Welcome to My Therapist is Out. Each episode, we talk with a therapist from Open Space Therapy Collective or LGBT community members about mental health and building community. I'm your host, Renae Johnson, licensed therapist and founder of Open Space Therapy Collective, where we are your hub for queer and trans mental health care.
As we dive into today's topic, please keep in mind that this is a mental health podcast. We will talk about sensitive and difficult issues that are not appropriate for all audiences. Please take care while listening.
Welcome back to My Therapist is Out. It's really good to be back after summer break for another season. We are going to structure things a little bit differently for the better and really do deep dives or bigger deep dives into topics. So we are going to have mini series. We'll do 2 each season, so 4 a year, on different mental health topics. So our first one is going to be on neurodivergence. We've had a lot of requests about this. We get a ton of clients coming in wanting to work on and understand their own neurodivergence, and so it seemed like the right place to start. Our newest therapist to the team, Allison Smith, is going to do an intro episode, really talk about what neurodivergence is, some of the historical factors, how it affects queer community differently. And then we will have a deep dive into ADHD with Psych NP Mikey Whited. They are back joining us, and they're bringing their sister, Jenny Larson, who is a neurodivergence specialist with kids and does a lot of coaching and teaching, and the conversation with them is so interesting because they really go into not only their experience as professionals and experts in ADHD, but also their own lived experience. They both have ADHD and different types of ADHD and what it was like to grow up with that and become an adult with that and to watch each other. And we just finished recording that. I got a lot out of that conversation. I feel like it's going to take a few days for me to digest everything. And then we'll wrap up the series with our therapist, Kristen Crow and Ernesto Martinez, as they do a deeper dive into neurodiversity as a whole, how it affects people, how it affects queer community, and how to explore the way that your brain and chemistry work. So please stick with us. We have some really exciting things coming up, and we're really excited to share that with you. Of course, DM us, comment below, follow, rate, review. That is all really helpful. And before we dive into the neurodiversity series, we are going to have one last guest, Charlie with Everywhere is Queer, join us for today's episode and talk about connecting with queer community, the importance of that, Charlie's journey through their own identity, and I hope you really enjoy it. If you haven't checked out Everywhere is Queer yet, please do. It's an incredible resource and a way to connect with queer community that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do. It's both queer businesses and events and meetups and you name it. So please enjoy this next episode with Charlie, and I will see you in a few weeks for the ADHD episode. Welcome to My Therapist is Out. I am so excited we have Charlie Sprinkman with us today from Everywhere is Queer. Thank you for joining me.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah, we are a few months into 2025 and it has been intense. And I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation because so much of what you're doing and what Everywhere is Queer is doing is all about community building and finding
Yep.
those queer safe spaces.
Yep. Yeah, exactly that. Excited to dive in.
Cool. For people who don't know yet, can you introduce yourself and Everywhere is Queer?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Charlie. I use he, they pronouns. I'm based in Portland, Oregon. I'm the founder and CEO of Everywhere's Queer. We're a worldwide map of over 16,600 queer-owned organizations. Becoming one of the largest directories of queer-owned organizations. We launched our app just under a year ago. It's free on iOS and Android. You can filter between 26 different categories to find safer spaces / queer-owned organizations, locally and globally, wherever you are in the world.
It's amazing. 16,000 in just a year is incredible. Congratulations.
I will say we launched 3 years ago, but our app launched a year ago.
I see.
So we've been going for about 3 years. Yeah.
Still Still.
Yeah. Thanks.
What brought you to launch Everywhere is Queer?
Yeah.
Like what were you doing before and where did you see the need?
Yeah. Well, I was a customer service manager before this, so nothing too exciting or exhilarating there. But I've always been a community organizer. You know, I was the one in college that like created some club, some meetup, some this, you know, whether it was, I was always community oriented. So I've always been that type of person, wanting to bring people together. But, you know, just like a little background of me, I'm from rural Wisconsin. I was raised Catholic and conservative. Told my most of my childhood that being gay is you're going to hell. And so I really like lived my life up until, you know, 18 years old. I left for university. I went to Colorado State University. So going from Wisconsin to Colorado was a big jump for me. And leaving, you know, what I grew up in. And suddenly I met all these people who had liberal perspectives and had gay friends and their parents were liberal. I mean, that was like such a shock to me. Meet someone over the age of 50 that was liberal. No, at 18, 19 years
Mhm.
old, I literally didn't know a single one. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I just completely rocked my world, you know? I was not out at this point. I came out my junior year of college. So it still took me some time. It's still taking me some time to, you know, figure out like, oh, it's so fluid in my eyes. So, but yeah, so that's kind of my background. And so queer community, once I found it, w- rocked my world. You know, I went days and weeks without people commenting on my higher voice. I went, you know, and that was something that was really big for me. I had a lot of voice dysphoria. And so I was volunteering at Brave Trails, which is a queer youth leadership camp for 12 to 18-year-old youth outside of LA. They have camps still going now, expanding to the East Coast. But I went and volunteered as just a camp counselor for 1 week. And being in that space of 100 queer people was so euphoric for me. I came out of Brave Trails and I was like, how do I build this at a global scale? How do I connect the queer, trans, and ally community with spaces that see us as our most authentic selves? And that was connecting them with queer owned organizations, you know? We don't list ally owned organizations on our platform or queer owned. Um, so that was kind of like a little bit of my journey. I did go on a year-long road trip to 41 of the 50 states right before the pandemic and was constantly seeking queer community in that trip. I did not think of Everywhere as queer yet, but I know that that was a big portion of me trying to find spaces.
Yeah, I bet. I laugh. I'm from rural Iowa and come from a very
Okay,
conservative
there
religious
you go.
family. So
Yeah,
it wasn't
okay,
until
well,
I was in my
yeah,
20s and moved to California that I met my first liberal
yeah,
over 50. And
there you
same, my
go.
mind was
Yep.
blown. I was like, wait, what?
Absolutely. I still get mind blown when I meet liberal adults. I'm like, "You really think that way?" I'm, like, so impressed by
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. I feel you that like moment where I find myself like clenching, being like, okay, are you gonna like yell at me and tell me I'm horrible, or is this gonna be
Mhm.
okay? It's
Exactly.
still something that I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I love how you've tied this together
Mhm.
in like moving out of Wisconsin and getting to Colorado and kind of seeing like, oh, wait a minute, like the community and meeting different people, there's space here. And then Camp Brave Trails, which is an amazing
Mhm.
organization. I love them. If you don't follow them on Instagram, please do. It will bring
Yep.
joy to your life.
Yes.
Um, and just continuing to realize that that community piece and that connected piece is so important.
Yeah.
What what was it about your experience with Brave Trails and the road trip? Because I'm going to guess that there's a thread in here that
Yeah.
started kind of percolating the wait a minute, queer only, queer owned
Mhm.
spaces and people are really important.
Yeah. I found that when I was in queer spaces, queer community that was majority queer people or organized by queer people for queer people, whether that be a meetup or Brave Trails or whatever it is, those were the spaces where I felt like most seen as my most authentic self, where I would have a conversation with someone and we would be like, I get you. you also struggled with voice dysphoria, or you were raised Catholic in a conservative area. It's like we just get each other a little bit more. And that was the thread of, I kept finding myself wanting to go back into those spaces. I would like, leave these queer spaces and I would be like, wait, that was so special. Like people were asking my pronouns right away, and there was no questions asked, that my pronouns were he, they, you know? Yeah. And so truly that's what it was. And then I was like, I know when I thought of the idea, because on my road trip, I was constantly seeking queer spaces, but what really came up was gay bars. And I drink, I like to hang out at a gay bar occasionally, but on a road trip, you got to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And, like there's a lot more time than just sitting at a bar. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not a space that everybody wants to be in, also. And so on our platform, I urge you, go reach out to these organizations, go sit with them, go support them, go like, we have thousands of queer owned spaces for y'all to go just sit and exist with queer people. The other thing that I really like to share, is growing up in Wisconsin, if I knew of a queer owned coffee shop in my deep, deep closeted self in high school, I would have loved to just go sit there and just see queer people exist. Not even
Mm-hmm.
interact, not even like, but just to see queer people working, owning a business. Um, yeah, I that's what I hope people are using our platform as well, just to just feel queer energy.
Yeah. It's so powerful and important. And like,
Mhm.
agreed, love a queer bar, love a night out, but that has quintessentially been like the place where queer people go. And it's the
Exactly.
only out place that queer people go, or the only safe space. And while that's fun, that's not the full life. And I think that's been part of why media gets confused, or conservative people get confused about us, is they just see that.
Mhm.
Where like, if it's a queer owned coffee shop and everybody's sitting there doing their homework or working remotely or chatting with a friend, um, going to a library, if there's like a community event, that's just very casual. Like also
Mhm.
being in community that way, that's where the meat and the like true connections are.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
What have you noticed in yourself shift since you've launched Everywhere is Queer?
Yeah. You know, running a business is one of the hardest things I've chosen to ever do. When I launched Everywhere is Queer January 2nd, 2022, I just posted my logo to Instagram. I wanted to build this resource, still am, wanting to build this resource out of the kindness of my heart, just for our community to know where we have safer spaces locally and globally. And then, we got some major press hits, and a year and 8 months later, building this on the side and having a full-time corporate job, I built Everywhere Square to the point where I was able to leave my corporate job, and now it's my full-time job. I'm salaried through Everywhere is Queer, and I never thought that this was going to be my life, like ever.
Mhm.
And I'm so beyond grateful. But where I wanted to bring this is that I think I get so wrapped up in running a business that I forget what I'm actually doing.
Mhm.
And it's the emails though that I get of like, "Hey, I literally just got a message on LinkedIn 45 minutes ago, and someone was like, 'I applied for a job on your job board,' had no, just thinking that like, I wouldn't get it, and they were like, 'I'm moving to Portland, Oregon,' and I got the job. It's just like these success stories, and I've just had thousands and thousands of them, and it's just it makes my heart so happy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the least we deserve as a community is safer spaces, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's running a business is insanely difficult, and it can
Yeah.
be really isolating.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know about you, but like it can feel kind of like disembodying at some point, especially when you're like sitting in front of the computer, like, okay, this business plan and this tech thing and this, like putting out fires and trying to move things forward. I would imagine that getting those responses from people is really fulfilling and really helps kind of recenter yourself.
Yeah. It does, because I get so wrapped up in running a business. I'm like, "Okay, Charlie, remember what we're doing. We're connecting queer people with safer spaces, all while building this queer economy. It's incredible. I mean, I'm so grateful. Yeah.
Mhm. What has it been like for you to be out and loud and be a queer figurehead at this point? Like, that's a big
Yeah.
difference from like rural closeted Wisconsin.
Yeah, it is, you know? I couldn't be more grateful. I know I keep saying that word, but I really am just trying to bring a lot of gratitude in my life right now because it's hard out there.
Mhm.
But my immediate family has, um, they're all number one supporters of Everywhere is Queer. So my siblings, my mom, I mean, my mom has a bumper sticker, Everywhere is Queer bumper sticker on the back of her car in rural Wisconsin. And I'm like, girl, you gotta be careful out there. But I'm like, if you got flat tires, it's not my fault, okay? Um, Also, everyone's gonna think you're gay, and I love it. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just so grateful for like where my family is with it because I mean, I it does feel so isolating to run a business, but to celebrate the wins, with my family and I've been on the news in my local hometown. I've done a whole bunch of stuff and yeah, it's like it's so rewarding. Like I love when people come up to me in the public and are like, "Thanks for what you're doing." And I'm just like, "We're all in this together," because that's truly what I believe. Like I'm not everywhere is queer is not me. It's the collective. It's the people that are telling other people about it. And allowing other people to find safer spaces and telling organizations to apply, which I'll just
Mm.
seed it. If you're a queer owned organization, it's free to join. You can apply via the profile tab of our app. Yeah, free to join. But yeah, sorry, did I really answer your question there? I kind of went on
You're good.
it.
Um, I'm curious about what your experience is like
Yes.
now stepping really into a
Yeah.
leadership role, not
Yeah.
just with the business, but like in the bigger queer community. And sounds like
Yeah.
your siblings and your mom, I'm go mom for that bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what is that experience like for you? Because I'm sure you're also getting a lot of feedback, input, suggestions. People are asking things of you. It's got
Oh
to
yeah.
be a much different lifestyle than it
Yeah.
is being quieter and in the background.
Yeah, and for me, I've always been loud and like extroverted and like again, I like started clubs in college. Like this is to no surprise. I feel like to a lot of people that I've like suddenly like built this business. I was selling pens, bedazzled pens for 50 cents in second grade, like signs I was gay and an entrepreneur. Like, you know? But I like I'm okay with like the how public I am, Like I enjoy it and like every time I'm on a podcast or, I'm just like it just makes me just have so much like good energy towards like what I did like my younger self, Of like I'm doing
Mm,
this for like little Charlie who is so scared for crossing his legs. Like, I was
mm,
called the words for crossing my legs growing up, you know? Um, I just, like, am so grateful to be in this position. Like, let's freaking go. I'm ready to go. Go bigger.
That's great. I think it's important to be able to have people hear you say that too.
Yeah,
To be like, yeah, I was called all of the names and all of the words, and I'm selling my bedazzled pens and I'm crossing my legs and voice
yeah,
dysphoria is real. And I am glad that I'm here and in front and doing this and
yeah,
not letting those things keep you pushed down or still trying to fit into the box so you're not getting the negative feedback anymore because it's scary and it's hard to do.
yeah. It's interesting too when I've met a level of success, what people from my community growing up see me, they're like,
Mm,
"Oh, he's, like, actually doing something." Like, his business is successful, and I mean, my business is not at all, like, crazy, like, I'm not making crazy money, but, like, it is enough for me to like, we're profiting, okay?
mhm.
But yeah, like, my aunt and uncles more, like, take me seriously, like, they're like, it's so interesting.
What do you think that is? Because you've always been you, right? You've always,
Yeah.
always been an
Yeah.
extrovert. I'm going to guess you've always
Yeah.
been very charismatic
Yeah.
and interested and engaged. What do you think that this type of success has given your queerness credibility in their eyes?
You know, like I think with my father, like he calls it the business, because we don't really talk about the name of my business. But like
Mm.
he checks in and he's like, "How much money are you making now?" You know, and like it's he like is intrigued to know that I'm like actually building a successful business, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I think my being this public, my aunt and uncles and people like family are like, all right, like there's no going back or there's no going quieter for Charlie. Like we're either gonna accept him for who he is or like, it is like I'm just getting louder and prouder and bigger,
Yeah, there's no getting quieter. I like that.
no, no, no. Now more than ever. Now more than ever,
Yeah.
for those listening, just know with this political climate that we're in, everywhere is queer is getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single day. We actually had 500 organizations apply to be on our platform last week alone. In 7 days, 500 organizations globally applied to be on our platform. We're not going anywhere.
That's amazing. And I think that's really important to talk about and hear because
Yeah.
so many people are like, crap, do I need to get off the socials? Do I need to be
Yeah.
quiet? Do I need to move? Do I need to protect myself?
Mhm.
And to hear like, no, we just got 500 more. Like,
Mhm.
what are you what are you seeing as the challenges going into this political
Mhm.
mess? And
Mhm.
where do you see queer community and organizations like Everywhere is Queer being able to push back?
Mhm. I mean, we're completely building a queer economy in its own way right now, connecting thousands and thousands of people with queer entrepreneurs and queer organizations. I think like everywhere's queer's pushback or impact is going to be like, watch this queer owned business succeed because we're going to connect the people to allow that business to succeed or help it succeed. We're not going to be the sole purpose for anyone's customers, but hopefully a big chunk of people's customers and success for their business. Which to me that's our pushback right there is like if you have four restaurants in a line, one of them's queer owned, and suddenly that one is the busiest restaurant, the other three are going to be like, what is that restaurant doing? And if we can be like, oh, we're just inclusive and we are nice to people, maybe we can teach something to the other restaurants.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the impact that I see Everywhere is Queer currently having and continuing to have. Um, I think some of the struggles and some of the questions I get with Everywhere is Queer is how are you like keeping it safe or are you just like putting a target on people's backs with this platform? And I want to say that all organizations apply themselves. They do not have to put a physical address. So you can just put a city and a state. You don't have to put a physical address. We have an entire online business section of our app. Again, you can just put neighborhood, city, and state if that's what makes you feel best for having your listing. If you're already like an outwardly queer retail space, no different than putting it really on our platform. But yeah, you can put whatever location fits and feels best for you as the business owner. All organizations, all 16,700 have applied themselves. I approved every single organization with my own two eyes. And I approve every
Mm.
single update made to any information in their bios or in their listings. So I'm keeping it very close to my heart. Yeah,
Yeah. It, I love hearing that because so much of this gets automated and then missed.
totally.
And that safety piece is really important right now, as well
Yeah,
as being out and
yeah,
loud. And
yeah,
like I think within our big queer community, we're all trying to figure out like what is that balance. And
yeah,
something that you said that I keep hearing is um a lot of like the local level stuff. Like this queer economy is means that the queer restaurant on the block may be busiest, which is then going to have that ripple effect in that community. Like, hey, this matters. This is important. This is working. Also, all these people are gay as fuck and wonderful, and we don't need to be jerks about it.
Like,
Imagine that.
wow, what a thought,
Yeah.
Mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah. What are we missing? What you're doing is so layered
Hmm.
that there has to be so many elements to it that people aren't even thinking about.
Yeah. So I want to share, we have a queer serving community group category. This was built for our nonprofits, 501c3s, but you do not have to be a registered 501c3 to be a part of this category. I understand that there's barriers to entry on becoming a 501c3. This is in partnership with Patagonia. Do you know Patagonia, the environmentalist
Yeah,
drag
she's
queen?
great. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. She actually and her team sponsored this category. And so we want this to be like your nonprofits and your like queer running clubs, your queer book clubs, your queer D&D groups, your, queer anything meetups made for queer people by queer people. Yeah, so I want people to know that that category exists so you can add your queer groups and also find queer community and organizations. I understand that walking into a restaurant, it might be hard to find community, but knowing what an actual community event, that'll be a little bit easier. So I want that category to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So spread the word. um, yeah, and then we also do have a job board in app, which is for queer and ally owned organizations to post jobs to our app users. You can filter by queer owned orgs only. So if you want to filter off the ally owned organizations, you can. Um, yeah, and I mean, just know that we are we're like 95% sure. I can't share yet, but know that we're bringing in another big directory into our platform to connect the queer, trans, and ally community with safer spaces in a whole nother realm of the world, our like category that we're not really covering right now. Um, uh, yeah. So we have so many things coming. Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that you have like the queer serving spaces,
Yeah.
because one
That's
thing that
good.
we see a lot with clients coming in is like, I feel really isolated. I don't have queer community.
Mhm.
I don't know how to find them. And so the
Yep.
fact that you have the section of like queer running clubs and queer D&D and
Yep.
D and queer meetups is great, because when
Yep.
it's existed on general public platforms, it tends to get really murky, or the wrong people
Yeah.
end up showing up, or it's
Totally.
one queer person and 15 allies, and that's not
Exactly.
really what people
Yeah.
are looking for.
Yep. Yeah, this is exactly why we created it. And I hope that I wanted to continue to grow and just spread the word, our resource is free, our app is free. It's no plans to change that. I want as many people to know and have access to this as possible.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
To end, I would love to hear from you, especially as we're talking about like community and being out and loud. What
Yeah.
is a recent queer moment of joy for you?
Oh, this is a big one for Everywhere is Queer and myself. I am a huge fan of Dylan Mulvaney and Dylan Mulvaney's work. You know who Dylan is?
Mm-hmm. She's
I
fantastic.
She made a video about Everywhere is Queer on her TikTok, and I had
Ah!
no idea that that was coming, and I screamed very loud in my apartment. Um, to my friend. And I just that moment sparked a lot of growth with Everywhere is Queer last week, hence 500 organizations applying in 1 week. And I'm just beyond grateful for that moment because thousands of more queer, trans, and allied people found our resource. Now they know where their safer spaces are, and that's why I'm so grateful. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I'm just on a mission to reach the millions of people that should know about our platform without I don't have millions of dollars to spend in marketing to reach them. So yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. I'll have to go check it out. I love her.
yes.
She's fantastic.
I know. She's great.
Cool. Congratulations. Well, where can people find you?
Yeah, at Everywhere is Queer on Instagram and TikTok. Our app is called Everywhere is Queer. It's free on iOS and Android, available globally. And if you want to reach out to us, you can on our website, which is www.everywhereisqueer.com. Very consistent.
Amazing. You've got the branding down. I love it.
Yes, that I did get, which I'm grateful for.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about your journey and about Everywhere is Queer. And I am excited to continue to watch you flourish.
Grateful for all the work you're doing as well. It's so important.
Great. And now for your community queer moment of joy.
I'm Never Ending Nina. My pronouns are she and her, and a moment of queer joy has always been with my community.
Julian Montanez, he, him, his. I work for the Capital Group, and I'm on the board of Detail A Proud. Recent moment of connection. I would think the Detail A Proud Festival that we just hosted really try to be a space for everyone to just be themselves, and it feels good at the end of the day when it's all over because people enjoyed themselves.
Thanks for joining us. If you're in California and looking for a therapist, visit our website at openspacetherapycollective.com and book a free intro call with one of our therapists. If you're enjoying My Therapist is Out, please rate, review, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Do you know somebody who could use a little extra dose of queer community? Send them one of your favorite episodes of My Therapist is Out and help our collective grow one listen at a time. My Therapist is Out is an open space therapy collective podcast, and our podcast editing is done by Rachel Peltzer and Smash and Grab Studio. We'd love to hear from you about today's topic, so email us at info@openspacetherapycollective.com. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Open Space Therapy Collective. Thanks for listening.